In 2 months, a legendary tier dungeon is going to drop, and our guild was supposed to be the first to conquer it. But what the hell? Just because the game hadn't had any new content for a while, our team's healer decided to enlist in the military. My name is San, and I'm the one who created this globally beloved game. Unsurprisingly, I'm also the top-ranked player on the entire server, but I'm also the most unfortunate person in this game because my damn best friend picked this exact moment to enlist Sun Xian. Had no choice but to post an urgent notice to recruit a healer. We're in a real bind. But his criteria were unimaginably picky. There were 21 conditions. He even rejected people for smoking in real life. This made Sun's guild, Chahian and LT, Unk and GT, S guild, unable to find healer. But luckily, not long ago, a member managed to recruit a priest. But of all things, it turned out to be a complete newbie. His name is Choi Subiban. Because he was so desperate, Chan had to grit his teeth and train this greenhorn properly in time for the dungeon. It was because of an incident that day that the two of them became inseparable friends without even realizing it. The story begins there. Inside a video game, characters are currently fighting with firepower. Then from within the flames, a winged dinosaur appears accompanied by a deafening roar. Immediately after a game character's voice announces, the names of the heroes will be recorded in history. AA Chronicles Update. The mythical difficulty raid is coming soon. Next, the game system displays a notification. Asta Chronicles Update. The mythical difficulty raid is coming soon, and the game began running advertisements. Furthermore, an LED screen was even placed in the subway station with the words ATA Chronicles, the mythical difficulty raid is coming soon. The game's founder was also standing in front of this advertisement. At that moment, he nodded in satisfaction, thinking to himself, it's finally here. He clenched his fist, silently, celebrating his own success. A thought suddenly crossed his mind. All the money I poured into this was worth the current hit game is Asta Chronicles, a title that has been highly sought after. 2 years ago, the game captured the hearts of many players with its complex customization settings, captivating storylines, special combat mechanics, and fiery PvP battles. It even introduced mysterious dungeon raids that stimulated the player's spirit of once the game was officially released. It won the Game of the Year award, and it has maintained its popularity for the past 2 years, holding its position as the best game of this era. At the center of this legendary gaming community is Sun Chahan, the elite among elites. His in-game ID is Jija. Currently, Si Hyun is sitting in front of his monitor, continuously typing on his keyboard. And because he's in a good mood, he was humming a tune. Sun Chahan is equipping his in-game character. In the game, he gives himself a pair of glasses with only a single lens. Then the screen displays GA has logged in. Sun Chahan's character is standing in front of church. Seeing him, a player named U laughed and said, "Hey, Tink and Robot is here." Finally, "Hey, welcome." A second later, Chi Powder is here. Hey, Gigi. Hey, have you read the update announcement yet?" Gig quickly replied, "Not yet, but I was about to check it now." Seeing the players so excited, Sung Chahan looked pleased, saying, "Glad the semester just started and there's no homework." Meanwhile, he was thinking to himself, drinking a cold beer while reading the update announcement. This is the life. A few minutes later, Sunung Chahan received a notification from Run, the game master. "Hello everyone. This is Run, your trustworthy game master. In Asta Chronicles, an MPG where new adventures are always happening everywhere. Have you found the recent major updates a bit boring? Well, we have something to show you that will definitely give you a fresh perspective on our updates. The newest raid update for the bravest warriors. A new difficulty has been unlocked. Mythical tier raid. Prepare for unprecedented challenges as legendary creatures step out of myths and appear before you." Receiving the notification, he smiled brightly, thinking, finally, it's been so long since the last update. Also, this game has a rule. ATA Chronicles raids require 9 players to cooperate to take down a single boss, just like a group project in college. 2 tanks in the front absorbing damage, 2 healers in the back keeping everyone alive, and 5 DPS continuously attacking the monsters. All team members must fulfill their roles to complete the raid. Of course, arguments sometimes happen and raids don't always succeed on the first try, but we quickly overcame the difficulties. And that indescribable feeling when you finally achieve your goal makes raids more irresistible than ever. Inside the game, everyone is incredibly excited greeting each other. First, Tyne and Robot is here, then Up is here, then Oh. Hello. Just then, Clueless Healer walked up. "Hey, everyone." But no one paid any attention to him. Meanwhile, Chi Powder asked, "Guaja, have you read the announcement yet?" And he replied, "Yeah." Hip Disco casually made a suggestion. "We're still going to be the first team to clear the raid this time, right?" Hip Disco said again in an angry voice. Everyone, but U couldn't care less. Busy talking to him. We know you're excited. You don't have to worry so much. Shea Powder replied, save that spirit for the first attack. She laughed loudly and replied, of course. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, Clueless Healer shouted, hey, everyone. His shout annoyed Chai Powder. What the hell is wrong with him? Giga glanced over and said sarcastically, well, I'm ready to help. Immediately after Clueless Healer started crying and whining. Now's not the time for that. I've been totally screwed over. Instead of comforting him, Chibat sneered. Pathetic. You're overreacting. Who then said, cut the crap. Is he worse than Lita? Seeing them all gang up to curse him out. Sun Xian just stared at the screen, laughing endlessly. But it didn't stop there. When he heard what Clueless Healer said next, he was so surprised he did a spit take. Clueless Healer said, no, damn it. I just got my military enlistment notice. Sun Xian shot up from his chair in shock and immediately yelled, what? In the game, the player god of war advised Hip Disco. All right, this is actually serious. This was something that scared even him. Even he was so scared he screamed internally. An enlistment notice. My slave. My partner is going into the military. Then what about the mythic difficulty raid? What about being the first team to clear it? This idiot. Why did he apply for enlistment without telling me in the game? Giga screamed when he saw him crying a river. The player Latau laughed and said, I bet he's just kidding. Who quickly spoke up. We're in LT, UNC and GT, about to attack the mythic difficulty raid. Why would you enlist now? Seeing Clueless Heller shaking from crying so hard, Tynan Robot suddenly asked, how are we going to find a healer now? Littera replied, doubtfully. What about large-scale recruitment? Tynan Robot quickly added with Giga's impossible personality. I don't think that'll be feasible. Then it was Clueless Heller's turn to suggest, hey buddy. Giga angrily shot back. I told you never to call me your buddy. And so Clueless Heller apologized. Buddy, I'm really sorry. At first, I just applied for enlistment for fun because the game hadn't been updated in a long time. Hearing this, Ghanem quickly scolded him. Who the hell is stupid enough to enlist for fun? Hip Disco started scolding Ghanem. Clueless Heller felt lost and said, oh no, should I just kill myself? Chabeta replied. Thinking of taking the easy way out, are you? Hearing that, U also started scolding him. Seeing the three of them arguing, Giga cursed under his breath. Damn it, what's so funny about this? One more thing. In raids, the role of the healer whose job is to maintain the party members' morale and stamina is extremely important. In other words, the completion progress in the game, whether it goes smoothly or not, all depends on the synergy between the two healers. Furthermore, Chan was an alchemist-type healer, a special class with all sorts of complex mechanics. Most importantly, he had found a healer who suited him. He had been playing with Clueless Heller for the entire past year. No matter how skilled a healer might be, it takes a lot of time to get used to a new person's playstyle. But how could I possibly find a new partner who meets all my criteria in such a short amount of time, right? Tynan Robot suddenly asked, what's the plan? Giga could only stay silent. In front of his computer screen, Sun Xian grabbed his head and screamed in frustration. Out of options, his character in the game put up a recruitment notice. Zizia is posting a recruitment notice. A lot of players came to see it, and it became a hot topic. On top of that, a post by Tynan Robot also went viral. Haste is recruiting new members for its progression team. Posted by Tynan Robot. The post content was as follows. Hello, I'm the Vice Guild Master and Raid Leader of the Hater Guild Tynan Robot. We are recruiting members for our raid team with the goal of becoming the first guild to clear the Mythic Difficulty raid, which is scheduled to be updated in early December. The criteria are as follows. For recruiting DPS non-warrior, must be over 21 years old. Male must have completed military service. 1. Must use level 360 gear that has been enhanced and enchanted. 2. Must be confident in attending 100% of the time. Be diligent and accept feedback in a timely manner. 3. Cannot fail a test more than 4 times during the trial period. 4. Must have cleared all 21 legendary raids. Non smokers preferred. Unacceptable behavior. Leaving your current guild to join new one. Profiles will be checked for form and incidents. Maximum recruitment. 3 individuals will be selected for interviews, after which 1 person will be chosen. Recruiting a priest class healer. Max level. Direct interview with Giga. Down below, curious players immediately left comments. Top comment. I thought the requirements for DPS were the highest, but look at the ones for the healer. It must be great to be a DPS. An anonymous player wed. A direct interview with Giga. How the hell is anyone supposed to pass that? T quickly added. I guess the hater members are about to quit as a group. Anonymous said bluntly. Look at those healer requirements. Haste said, sadly, they should just give up on trying to pick someone. Why do they only want a priest anyway? I'm a sage. And this anonymous player agrees. It's because their other healer is an alchemist, so only a priest can support him. That's a pretty important piece of information. Then why didn't they just put that in the announcement? Who even is this alchemist player? It's amazing. Jigia. Jigia. What kind of name is that? I'm dying. Gigi, hiding behind a nearby wall, heard this and thought to himself, feeling anxious and miserable. Fine. Go ahead and laugh all you want. No matter what you say, I'll find a suitable healer who's a billion times better than that traitor who's off enlisting. A few minutes later, Gigi was still there silently observing them. And when he saw them leave, Gigi cursed under his breath. He then went to find Tink and Robot. Gigi said, "Hey, Tinkan, I need you to become a priest." Tink and Robot replied in surprise, "Huh?" Tine and Robot felt awkward and said, "But how can a robot know how to heal? Keep out there, Kaimin." He's got a point. Gi suddenly realized his past mistake and thought to himself, "This is what I get after all those years of treating them well." Suddenly, Healthy Jaw walked up and took the initiative. "Hello." Healthy Jaw smiled brightly and extended an invitation. "Does anyone want to join a raid with me?" Tine and Robot exclaimed in surprise. "Oh, look who it is," who shouted in astonishment while Gigi looked at him and silently wondered. Who is that guy? Right after the game system helped Gigi out, Healthy Jaw. About a month ago, a new member joined the guild and won over countless other members. Not only were his skills far superior to that of a typical newcomer, but he also had a good, approachable Gigi muttered to himself, "He has nothing to do with me. I have no intention of dealing with a newbie." Ova walked up to get acquainted with him. "Healthy Jaw, you want to join the Edwin raid? I know it's the easiest of the legendary raids, but at a glance, it's not exactly for newbies, you know?" Healthy Jaw smiled brightly and replied, "You're right. I'm not exactly people, you know." Hip Disco also joined the fun. That's right. He's nothing like a newbie at all. And so she hid behind a lamppost watching them talk. Tinkan Robot loudly announced his requirements. "I need 1 tank, 1 healer, and 5 DPS. Shea Powder laughed heartily. Seeing them like that, she grumbled to himself. They look so happy. With an average of 100,000 players online, is it really impossible to find one good healer? When there was no one left in sight, he screamed his head, "Where is everyone?" Back in the real world, Sun Cha Hyun fell into deep thought. If that's the case, then classes like damage dealers or melee mages can cause damage just by breathing. So, who would even dare to be a healer? Besides, if there really was someone that good, they would probably already have a partner. However, our ancestors used to say that if life is too easy, what's the fun in it? I just need to watch and wait for what happens. I will definitely find the best healer. After thinking everything over, Sun Chan had to admit one thing. Every field has its own stars. Asta Chronicles was no different. There are players so famous everyone remembers their names, especially the troublemakers who frequently cause scandals that appear on the bulletin boards. There are players who pursue a certain concept and have extremely bizarre play styles, and those who spend all their time seeking profit in the trading district selling 5D owls amidst the countless names of innumerable players. The Hater Guild shone with an unparalleled reputation. Champions of guild battles across the entire server, the raid team, with the most first completion achievements, the most in the 6th era. Even the guild members themselves are famous for their skills. Despite being a renowned guild in the Asta Chronicles player community, the guild only had 2 healers who could participate in high difficulty raids at a master level, Jigia and Clueless HEALER. And with his former partner now offline to enlist in the military, Sun Chan was now all alone. At that moment, Clueless HEALER was crying pitifully, saying it's because they haven't had any cool updates in so long. It's just been repeating the same events and dungeons with the same old layouts. Because it was too easy, I started to get bored. That's why I decided to enlist. How could they update with a difficult raid now? A myth difficulty 1 at that. Why didn't they announce it sooner? Gigi, with a look of dissatisfaction, said, "Hey, you idiot. You should have at least tried to study and apply for the Air Force. I hear they get to take leave pretty often." Clueless HEALER cried even more pathetically. "Dude, don't you get it? Even if I studied really hard, there's no way I could get into the Air Force with this brain of mine." Knowing all this, Sun Cha Hyun, sitting in front of his laptop, angrily slammed his desk and cursed. Damn it. He felt completely stuck, grabbing his hair as he thought. What am I supposed to do now? All the Heal healers I know are already paired up. I've scoured the forums and couldn't find anyone who meets the criteria. With a dazed expression drenched in sweat, Sunung Chahan screamed internally. All that's left is a mistrust of humankind. Just curses and an ever-growing block list. But in the game, she had told Tink and Robot, "I've asked the Vice Guild Master, Tink and Robot, to be a healer several times, but that guy is one stubborn tank." He wasn't even pretending to listen. Instead, he covered his ears, refusing to hear. Sihan stared at the screen, annoyed. He watched the game ad and mumbled to himself, "Should I join this raid as a DPS? It's too hard to find a priest that suits my preferences. It's easier to recruit a pair of healers who've been playing together for a while. Considering the Hater Guild's popularity, all we need to do is post an ad and applicants will come flocking. Sun-chan had also considered a last resort. If all else failed, he would destroy some other guild and steal their healers. With that thought, he immediately logged into the game. The moment he saw Jijia Kudal-ut said, "He's here." Chaba complained, "What took you so long?" While Tinkin Robot grumbled, he never checked his messages or the group chat. Seeing his angry expression, Jijia, looking confused, asked, "What's going on?" Dragon Flame awkwardly replied, "I'll be gone in a minute." Chabat suddenly said, "Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale." Hip Disco angrily shouted, "That's not the trick. Isn't that the breathing technique for pregnant women?" Not understanding what was happening, he stared at them blankly for a moment. Jijia laughed and asked, "What is all this?" Ever since clueless Healer left for his military enlistment, I don't think anything you're about to say can faze me. Tinkin Robot hesitated, struggling to get the words out. Jijia urged him on, "Come on, hurry up. Just spit it out. I need to craft some more gear for my DPS." Tinkin Robot finally told him the truth. It looks like Gilbert is aiming for the first clear on this raid. Immediately, Gigi's face filled with shock. Tinkin Robot continued, "Someone posted screenshots of the old boss guild members lurking on the forums on their characters too." Huoff quickly added, "My items were selling like crazy, so I checked the transaction history, and all the buyers were familiar nicknames." When Sun-chan learned of this, his anger flared. His hands flew across the keyboard as he immediately clicked on a hot link titled, "The Boss Guild is back," with pictures attached. Sung Cha-hun went through the attached images and then checked the comments. The top comment read, "They're starting to come back just because they think they can get the first clear on the raid. Are you kidding me? What kind of mentality makes them come back like that? That's unbelievable. How could they even think that it's probably because Gigi's partner just enlisted in the army?" Everyone was talking about it nonstop. He's been scouring different parties ever since his partner left. That's scary. Is he looking for someone? I don't think so. No one can stand his crazy temper. Someone who didn't understand what was going on asked innocently, "What's the Boss Guild?" Then someone shouted, "Speedwagon, help us out." Speedwagon quickly appeared. "Hello, allow me to introduce myself. I am Speedwagon, the king of all rumors." In the early stages of the game, the Boss Guild spread false information, monopolized hunting grounds, and used that information to gain enormous benefits. That turned them into the biggest scumbags of that era. No matter what they did, they only got banned for 2 months, and would come back amidst a torrent of curses. Click the post for more details. After saying that, he immediately left. See you again. Meanwhile, everyone waved nonstop saying, "Thank you, Speedwagon. Thank you so much." But it didn't stop there. Hip Disco even held the press conference to attract attention. "I am currently a member of the Hater Guild, even though the guild leader block has been filled up twice, but he still asked for more space on it." Right after Hip Disco's speech, everyone burst out laughing. They kept discussing, "I wonder how many healers there are in this game. You think he only blocks healers? He blocks anyone he doesn't like, whether they're a tank or a DPS." A guy with rabbit ears looked pitiful as he cried and complained, "Jijia blocked me again. But without those jokes, he would never even notice me." Someone sympathized and shouted, "I'll block you too." The only people Gigi doesn't block are Heil healers at guild members or his lover. I agree. After learning this, Shybor looked furious and said, "Our guild leader doesn't discriminate like that. He even blocks his own guild members, so don't you dare talk bad about our leader." Others looking bewildered quickly joined in. He must have been blocked before. He looks like a seasoned veteran. Sung Cha-hun watched the players chatting, getting angrier as he thought to himself, "That's them, all right, those nicknames. Damn, it's been so long, but I still recognize those moronic bastards." He continued looking at the blurry pictures in the link. Finally, Sun Chan realized something. The deep-seated hatred between the Hater and Boss guilds. To be more precise, the guild boss was the one who caused the trouble, but the Haters were the ones who suffered the most. Of course, the Haters wouldn't just lie down and accept their fate. Just as our forefathers used to say after the third strike, the Haters declared war on the boss and set out to destroy them. They didn't hold back in any form of combat. From open-world PKs to arguing on the forums, whenever the two guilds clashed, the Haters would do their best to strike at the weak spots of the boss guild members, especially Chan. He used the suspension of players who reported the boss's tyrannical behavior as an excuse to launch a frenzied attack. That's how he earned the nickname, the Head Reaper. Seeing Gigi's relentless attacks, other players' faces twisted in fear, thinking to themselves, "I can't believe it." The ones who swore they'd never come back. Veterans of Asta Chronicles were slowly starting to return. Gigi suddenly called out to them, "Hey everyone," which startled Hip Disco so much he mumbled incoherently while Jijia beamed with a bright smile. but his soul was that of a cheerful white tiger. He said, "We're going to be the first guild to clear it, right?" Dragon Flame broke into a sweat and replied, "But my partner already enlisted in the army." Jiga casually said, "It's fine. I can take on the DPS role. We just need to find 2 more healers," Who said in a panicked voice. "But all the high-level healers are already in guilds." Giga didn't care and just gave a firm order. "Who cares? We'll just destroy some random guild and take their healers," Hip Disco said sarcastically. A new trick to get on the warning board. At this point, OO understood his intention. "So, you finally want to debut on the warning board, huh?" Tank and Robot even advised Jia to give it up. "Hey, get that idea out of your head and just join the party." Ji immediately shot back. "Why should I?" Tank and Robot quickly gave a reason to convince Giga. "We're guiding a newbie through the Edwin raid. We need 1 more player to have enough people." Just then, Healthier rushed over, smiled brightly, and said, "It's a pleasure to meet you." Jia looked at him with surprise. Regarding Edwin, Tank and Robot looked surprisingly awkward, just humming and hawing. Even so, Jia knew exactly what it was. Raids in Asta Chronicles are divided into normal, hard, and legendary difficulties. Among the 10 legendary raids, the one called DS Cares is famous for its brutal difficulty and complex mechanics, earning it the nickname the Nightmare Dungeon. Edwin is the first boss of the DS Cares raids. Then Gigi asked him about the newbie. "Are you telling me a newbie who just joined last month is participating in a DS Cares raid?" Tinkin Robot put his arm around his neck and whispered in Gigi's ear, "That's right, but he's really good." GI was also concerned about gear, asking, "So what about his equipment?" Tank and Robot wasn't sure, but he had faith in the newbie, replying, "I gave him some advice, and he figured it out on his own. I bet one day he'll become really strong." Gigi still had some doubts, so he asked, "What about his skill level?" Tekken Robot praised him. "His control is really good. He has a solid foundation for being a high-level player in another game." Gigi glanced at the other player and thought, "Wait, this feeling?" He seems a little embarrassed. He still felt uneasy and muttered to himself, "My intuition, the one I had when the guild boss scandal was exposed. It's acting up. I don't know what it is, but I know it's onto something." An inexplicable hope was slowly rising within me. Despite that, Gigi joined the party right away. The party members were extremely excited. The first to speak was Dragon Flame. "Let's go." Then it was Gigi's turn to say hello, while Healthier said, "Thank you all so much." God of War said excitedly, "It's been a while since I fought Edwin." Sung Cha Han took a sip of his soda and thought, "I have no reason to pay attention to a newbie, but what if he's really that good? What if he could become my partner healer?" A few minutes later in the game, Tank and Robot spoke up. "Is everyone ready with their mics on? Just turn on your mic if you want." Healthier, this is your first time, so you have to turn on your mic. Healthier immediately agreed. "Yes, sir." Shabounder then asked, "Who's leading this time?" Tank and Robot started to volunteer. "Of course it's me." This made Gigia confused, and he thought to himself, "We're calling this training." "Hey, Tank and Robot." Gigia's interjection surprised him. "Huh?" In the real world, Sunung Cha Hyen suddenly had a thought. That word is mainly used for raising pets or at the workplace. However, I'm using hey in a different context. Just like that, he decided to have his character take command. And so, Gigia said to the other members, "I'll be leading the party today." Tank and Robot replied in surprise, "What did the sun rise in the west today, or something?" Gigia smiled brightly and revealed his plan. "I'm going to use Edwin as a test for my future partner, Healer." It was the first time he'd seen him think like that. This confused Tank and Robot. Then Tank and Robot angrily yelled, "Are you insane?" Jia ignored him, laughed loudly, and said, "Everyone, let's talk on voice chat." "Okay, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Got it. He felt satisfied, thinking to himself, he's a priest with excellent healing abilities, a newbie, strong enough to have made it this far, without help from other players, and is now participating in the Edwin raid. If I train him properly, he could become an outstanding healer, a healer tailored to see Hyun's preferences. What could be better? The legendary difficulty raid is in 2 months. I'm going to train this newbie, becoming a healer who specializes in nightmare difficulty, playing only the way he wants the kid. Gigia imagined the pained expression on Tinkin Robot's face as he said the words, "My deepest condolences." After that, they fought their first battle since forming the party, entering the raid of Edwin Li Hua, Knight of Radiance. The system provided guidance, teleporting to the garden of the Liwenhe family, activating additional effects, increased stamina, strength, agility, intelligence, and spirit. In front of the team was a long, endless corridor. Seeing the sight before him, Giga felt a bit nostalgic. The 10 legendary difficulty raids are made up of content unrelated to the main storyline. I remember reading that. The developers put a lot of effort into creating the setting and lore for these legendary raids, but that's all I can remember. That's right. Chahan skipped the entire story. Sitting in front of his laptop, he looked bored and said, "This isn't fun at all." After that, Sion immediately started up his laptop and said, "All right, let's go." Very quickly, inside the game, the players had joined the battle. Dragonflame spoke first with an excited voice. "Let's go." Lita was right there with him. "Time to fight." Chi Powder ran out in front. "I just ordered some fried chicken. If we don't finish this raid fast, I'm ditching you guys to go eat," he yelled excitedly, calling out. Call of the Wild. The place they arrived at was Lai Hyun and LT, Unk and GT's Seal Garden. Seeing the terrain before him, Sun Cha Hyun devised a plan in about 12 seconds. Around 20 types of plant monsters will spawn from both sides of the garden. And so, he decided on a new strategy. Forget the usual tactics. We're going to attack with everything we've got. While Tink and Robot used Sacred Shield inside the game, Lita said, "Copy that." With 18 years of experience as a healer, Sun Ung Cha Hyun had become a master of efficiency, taking on the role of controlling the pace of the battle before some leopard could ruin it. His goal was to kill the boss before the team's tank was taken down. That meant that, as a healer, he also needed to contribute damage to the boss. That's why Chahan chose the Alchemist. It was often considered the worst healer class. Although Alchemists lack healing abilities, they can deal the most damage in their class branch. Sure, this meant having to come up with incredibly complex plans and execute perfect skill chains better than anyone else. But for someone who had spent his entire gaming career healing, this wasn't a problem as long as Chahan and LT, Unk and GT, as partners could make up for the Alchemist's lack of healing ability. As he thought that, Jijia turned to look at Healthy Sir and hesitated internally. Suddenly, he remembered what Tinkin Robot had said. "I just gave him a few pointers, and he figured it out on his own." So Jijia thought to himself, for a newbie, collecting a full set of Appleish gear isn't half bad. I thought he was just another new player wandering around the main square. I'll keep an eye on him. If he's not too bad, I can make him some better gear. I can't have my partner healer, getting looked down on because of his gear. Right after that, Hip Disco shouted, "Hurricane." However, Hip Disco suddenly grew sad and said, "If I were a necromancer, I'd be dealing more damage than Dragonflame." That's because he used to main a necromancer. Dragonflame grinned and taunted him. "Upgrade that potato PC of yours first. Don't let your game crash on us now. This piece of junk PC." Hip Disco was too sad to speak. Next, the system announced Great Enemy Contagion. Jijia turned to look at Tink and Robot and saw his health bar was almost empty. He grew worried, thinking to himself, he's about to run out of HP. Is the newbie not paying attention to his status bar? He's going to die if he doesn't get healed soon. Jiga looked at the potion in his hand and thought to himself, well, it is his first time in a raid. He must be overwhelmed. Let me show him how it's done. A second later, he was stunned. Before he could even heal him, Tinkin Robot's health bar was suddenly full. Startled, Jijia muttered to himself, what the? He suspected Healthy Sir had done it. So he looked at him and thought, did that newbie just perfectly time his heal? And right before the tank died, is he a genius? A few seconds later, HX said, damn, that was close. Tinkin Robot would have died if you were 1 second slower. Tinkin Robot casually said, tell me about it. I almost pissed my pants. Lita quickly jumped in. No wonder it suddenly stinks over here. Finally, Edwin, the boss here, appeared. So you made it all this way, my dear rookies. Edwin shouted his challenge. Now it is my turn. However, GG completely ignored the enemy and thought, I don't give a damn what you're saying. Skipped. Edwin scoffed. How rude. At the same time, Sun Hyun was a little surprised, saying, a DPS king. A DPS that deals direct damage that can't be resisted by our magic or armor. A melee type that deals direct damage. So, we'll need to sync our attacks with the buff's timing. During the summoning process, use the buff for 15 seconds right when the fight starts. But in the game, Chi Powder was the one to take the lead, challenging Call of the Wild. HX quickly activated a buff for 10 seconds. Lita immediately followed. Me too. HX used another skill. Blizzard target locked and tracked. Edwin, hit by HX's attack, screamed in pain. At that moment, Ja gave an order to his teammates. Everyone follow up right after the tank makes his first move. The tank uses his defensive skill. All right, HEALER, get ready to heal. He immediately shouted Divine Blessing, which surprised me a little. Seeing HEALER's quick reaction, Jijia was very pleased, thinking about his timing. His reaction is impressive. Or maybe he was prepared. Surprisingly, he did a great job. A second later, Tank and Robot cried out, ow, that hurts. Healthizer used a revival spell, sacrificing his own health bar to save him. This timely rescue delighted Jijia, who thought to herself, oh my god, his timing is absolutely perfect. What a talent. Since this was his first raid, I was prepared to clean up the mess. But with a performance like this, I can just focus on dealing damage. Awesome. See me look at him. HEALER got a little shy. Edwin became enraged and shouted, I will destroy you with light, hit by his attack. Both Hip Disco and Gia were shocked and confused. 2 seconds later, Hip Disco fell, still muttering, wait, why me? Seeing her teammate go down, Gia grew worried and thought to herself, I knew it. The boss is in a frenzy. I guess I have to resurrect him. And as his health bar refilled, Hip Disco asked in confusion, huh? I'm not dead. Healthizer immediately grinned and replied, I used revive on you. Gia couldn't believe her ears and screamed internally. Wait, seriously? He didn't just revive him. He healed Hip Disco instantly. While he smiled brightly, Hip Disco was so happy he started crying. Oh my god. This made Gia think seriously about Healthizer, this new healer. Could he be someone the developers sent me as an apology for not expanding my block list? I say heal, and he does it instantly. It's like he's the AI assistant on my phone. Siri, Bixby, Alexa, move it aside. Healthizer has arrived after escaping from Edwin Gajua, said cheerfully, great job, everyone. HX was also very satisfied. That was really interesting. Dragonflame loudly praised the entire team. Great teamwork. Then they started praising Healthizer. First up was HX. Hey, Healthizer, you're really good. Then it was Dragonflame's turn. You could take all of this stuff. None of us use it. Healthizer. Receiving the items from Dragonflame, Healthizer smiled brightly and said, thanks a lot. A moment later, Gigia walked over to Tank and Robot. Tank and Robot looked confused and replied, huh. Giga said in a sincere tone, I swear this raid was definitely meant for me. Tank and Robot was skeptical. You all right, lady? Gigia replied confidently. The developers were very impressed with the way I play this game, so they sent an AI character just for me as a reward for my dedication. Tank and Robot casually retorted, do you need me to call an ambulance for you? Gigi got angry and used his real name. Hey, Minhuk, we're gonna get the first clear achievement, aren't we? After hearing this, Tank and Robot replied in a surprised tone, why are you suddenly so friendly? Are you really considering using Healthicizer for the mythic difficulty raid? Gigia gave Tank and Robot a few choices to make it easier for him. Alright, I'll give you some options. Option 1, you can create a new priest account. Option 2, infiltrate Division 5 and kidnap Wenleia. Option 3, get your name on the warning board for destroying a raid party. Option 4, train Healthizer for the mythic difficulty raid. There, you choose. Tank and Robot was in a bind, hesitantly replying, huh? Then he silently cursed her. Damn her. I can't pick any of the other options. Kidnap, lose Leia. I'd definitely get banned for that, and me become a priest. Impossible. I know she's not kidding about destroying a raid party. She'd become the talk of the whole game the moment her name gets slapped on that warning board. It would happen in an instant. So, there was only one option left. Tank and Robot had to give in. Alright, I'll tell him. But Giga said no need. I'll handle this myself. With that, she turned and left, leaving Tank and Robot stunned. What? He asked as Gigia walked away. Tank and Robot thought to himself, she's really serious about this. Tank and Robot even knelt and silently apologized. Please forgive me, Healthizer. I've sold you out. Giga went to find Cutie up. Cutie UIP looked surprised and asked, what is it? Gigia got straight to the point. Do you have any items for a healer? Coochie was a little surprised and teased her. Well, now Gigia ignored him and continued. I need 1 Cloak of Justice, 50 high-grade Awakening Shards, 500 Faith Stones, and a set of crafted gear. Cootie quickly quoted a price. That'll be 60 million gold. Gigi immediately agreed. Deal. Besides, Gigia knew that Cushio was his current nickname, which was as meaningless as making your password. The owner of this unremarkable ID, he's a top player from the first server of Asta Chronicles, famous for trading items. Not only is he constantly on the featured user list, but there's also a widespread rumor that if Quado were to quit the game, 1/4 of the auction house's inventory would disappear. I'm sure it's more than just a rumor. Of course, Quatweup just scoffs at this. Furthermore, Quat has said that if getting rich from gaming were that easy, then we'd be seeing gaming forums popping up in Silicon Valley. People were shocked to discover that Quadu was nothing like what was said in the comments. Regardless, he was so famous that everyone eventually just called him a merchant. A little later, Hip Disco came to find him. My dear merchant, what are you up to? Isn't that priest gear? Hip Disco asked in surprise. How do you plan on selling that? Quada simply said offhandedly, it's not for sale. It's a special order. Dragonflame, stunned ass back. Who ordered it? Quada didn't hide it. Our guild master, Ziza, still finding it hard to believe, God of War asked, don't you already have a full set of gear? At that moment, Gigia looked at a test tube and replied, of course I do. I already gave it to Healthizer. Hearing this, HX yelled in a panic, you gave it to Healthicizer. And so, They immediately started whispering among themselves. First, Hip Disco said, I think my monitor's broken or something. I'm seeing strange things in the chat window. U immediately confirmed, you too. Same here. God of War looked stunned and said, unbelievable. Shibata lost his cool even more. Oh my god, I was so shocked I accidentally threw away the piece of chicken I was eating and so many new recruits had come hate her and then left. This was mainly because the Vice Guild Master Tonkin robot had a habit of bringing in new people, mentoring them, and then letting them grow on their own. After all, Jigia wasn't interested in new members and never bothered giving them equipment or other items. So what was Jigia's motive for giving an item to a newbie? And it wasn't just any piece of equipment. It was also an expensive cosmetic set. Most of the hater guild members quickly realized his intentions. Moreover, the whole group assumed he had ill intentions toward Healthizer, thinking to themselves, this is definitely not right. That inhuman monster, Jigia, is planning to turn our adorable newbie into his new partner. A few seconds later, Hip Disco spoke up again. It can't be. Is he seriously planning to let Healthizer join a mythic difficulty dungeon raid? Chibar, who knew him best, replied, if Gigi had even a shred of conscience, there's no way he'd take someone who's only been playing for a month into a dungeon that hard. And God of War, feeling indignant for the new player's sake, yelled, maybe he's just trying to be nice to a newbie for once. Meanwhile, Dragonflame laughed and said, that's what I was thinking too. God of War suddenly brought up the recruitment issue. It's been a month since the recruitment notice went up. There's no way he still hasn't received a single application, right, Giga? I haven't received a single application. U paused, then admitted. Seriously. God of War quickly added. Holy crap. Dragonflame in disbelief stammered. Not a single one. Jigia admitted the truth. None. He thought for a moment, then said, but there are a lot of applicants for the direct damage dealer or DPS positions. I'll start the interview soon. U completely lost his cool and yelled. Who cares about the DPS position? Do you really mean you don't have a single applicant for the priest role? He replied bluntly. No. U was silent for a moment, then said, I think we should start planning to kidnap Clueless Healer from his guild hall. Giga, not knowing who he was talking about, asked, who's Clueless Healer? Dragonflame ran up to him, crying and complaining, Tancock, I had a feeling our new recruit is going to leave us again. Tancock Robot immediately refused to help. I've got nothing to do with this. I already tried to talk him out of it, but that bastard blocked me. Giga didn't deny it, but he did say, hey, I unblocked you ages ago. Hearing this, HX got angry on Tancock's behalf. Giga, even though it's true that he successfully cleared the Edwin raid, she recalled how HEALER had used a resurrection blessing to help someone. So, HJX argued, but he only started playing a month ago, Jigia said nonchalantly. That's precisely why we have to train him. Tank and Robot was completely taken back by this. Then Jia explained, like I said, he has a lot of potential. The others still didn't. Giga continued his analysis. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I didn't do any of the healing. During the entire Edwin raid, HEALER kept everyone alive, all by himself. Who made an awkward face and replied, I kind of thought that might be the case, but I can't believe it's real. Hibdisco remembered the moment he fell on the battlefield and replied, but I was already dead. The least you could do is save me. Giga bluntly criticized his teammate. That's your fault, not mine. Give me 2 months, and I guarantee Healthy will not only be able to beat raids, but even participate in Mythic. Gigia also acknowledged the fact that he had successfully cleared the Edwin raid despite only playing for a month. Don't you guys think he wants to join the Mythic raid, too? U replied with a dissatisfied look. I wish I could say you're wrong, but Hip Disco immediately gathered everyone and whispered, everyone, it looks like we can't get Healthy out of this. So let's try Hip Disco. At least stop him from quitting. Dragon Flame immediately agreed. Sounds reasonable. There are many reasons why training Healthy is the best option here. At least it's better than trying to secretly kidnap Glue's HEALER from the army, or having our leader's name honored on the warning board for the crime of sabotaging another guild. Right after that, everyone agreed in unison. By seeing everyone actively isolating him, Gigi asked, what the hell are you guys doing? Just then, Quadi brought over a box and said, it's all done. This made Gigi respond in a surprised tone. After receiving the items, Gigi didn't forget to say thanks. Quatwiop smiled and replied, it was a pleasure doing business with you. A few seconds later, Gigi disguised as Santa Claus approached Healthy, but he recognized him and replied with a smile. Hello, Guild Master Shi. Gigi smiled back brightly and said, hey there. Furthermore, the system displayed a notification. Gigi wants to trade. This made Healthy say in a surprised voice, Gigi gave all the items to him. They're all for you. Healthy was extremely surprised. Wow, what is all this stuff? Gigi honestly explained the reason. This is to congratulate you on successfully clearing the Edwin raid. and to welcome your debut. The system announced again, trade successful. The teammates started talking amongst themselves after seeing Jigia give a gift. In addition, Healthy hesitantly asked, "Isn't this stuff expensive?" Jigia replied loudly, "Not at all. I guarantee it." Healthy hugged the pile of gifts in his hands and said with a smile, "But I only got through it thanks to the other party members. Isn't this too much?" Gigi treated it as normal and replied, "Of course not. You did great today." On the other hand, he felt annoyed inside. He screamed internally, "What are you still standing there for?" Meanwhile, his teammates were extremely surprised by how well Jigia was treating Healthy. Ajax chuckled and said to them, "He's right. You were on fire today." Hideyasuko looked at Jigia with an admiring gaze and said, "Back then, I thought I was about to kick the bucket. But you saved me. You moved me to tears." And you didn't forget to praise him. "Your character control is insane. So damn impressive." God of War also chimed in. "There's no way you're a newbie. You're a genius, right?" Finally, Healthy admitted, "You're right. Actually, I'm not a new player." Jiga acted interested and asked, "Did you find this raid difficult?" Healthy scratched his head in confusion and awkwardly replied, "I was a little worried at first. Maybe it's because I had the right gear or because of the other guild members, but I felt it was really easy." This made Jigia feel satisfied, and he thought to himself, "Oh my god, did you hear that?" He said, "Edwin was easy, Healthy. Once again, thank you so much for the gear. Will you join me for the next raid? I'll try to practice even more." Jiga did not refuse this offer. "Just call me if you want." Inwardly, he was getting excited. How can he say all the right things? He hit the nail on the head every single time. Everything was going according to Jaya's plan. So he smiled and thought to himself, "From gear to buffs, he has everything I need. His skills are perfect too. The only thing left to do is build trust with the new healer, and I'm set. Training my very own healer. This will be a piece of cake." While he was daydreaming about the future, idealizing his time with the newbie son Sean, had completely forgotten that he was still a university student. At that moment in class, the professor announced loudly, "By the way, I have an announcement before we end today's lecture. Starting next week, we'll be having group presentations instead of lectures." This announcement made Sun Chahan break out in a cold sweat. The whole class fell silent, and he thought to himself, "What the hell did he just say?" The reason I pay this sky-high tuition and drag myself to this class is to listen to the professor's lecture, not some other students. Especially in my senior year, I finally found a solution to my partner problem. And now reality throws this mess at me. What is this? Sitting in class, Si-hun was silently cursing the professor. "The reason I pay such an absurdly high tuition and drag myself to this class is to listen to a lecture from the professor, not from other students, especially not in my final year." After that, he was forced to form a group. The first person immediately introduced himself. "Hello, ame gusong bino." When it was his turn, "I'm Sun Cha Hyan." In his head, he was still thinking, "I really thought this class would just be about coming to the lecture hall and listening, not all these group projects. And the course is even called the science of happiness of all things. Yeah, real happy about that. A pain is what it is." And so, everyone introduced themselves one by one. "I am Barkman Yunk. I'm Lee Gina, a computer engineering major." He looked at everyone and suddenly had a thought. Then again, the people here are nothing more than pitiful victims who fell for the professor's scam. Out of curiosity, Si-hun glanced at their books and muttered to himself, "The covers of their textbooks are still stiff and new. That means everyone here except for me is a freshman. Let's exchange phone numbers from that." He figured they would definitely vote for him to be the group leader. But if we present in numerical order, since we're group 7, we'll have more time to prepare. I'm sure I was full of energy this morning. So why the hell am I so drained? As Gaiwong Bin was leaving, he happened to run into the professor. Later, Sun Cha Hyun returned to his apartment to take a shower, but while drying his hair, he couldn't stop muttering to himself, "So damn tired." The first thing Si-Hyun did was sit down at his computer, launch a game, and mutter to himself, "Do these professors think we only take their classes or something? I hate group work. It's such a headache." And with that, Jigia logged into the game. The moment he appeared, HX greeted him. "Welcome." Chibot did the same. "Hey there." And finally, Pico, and even Healthy Jar walked up. "Hello." Seeing him, Jigia was a little surprised. Healthy Jar beamed, saying, "Ah, you're here too." He looked at that bright smile and thought to himself, "Just looking at him makes me feel so much better. That's right. I have Healthy Jar now. I need to cheer up. He'll keep growing and become the perfect pawn for me. I just need to focus on that and hang in there." Soon enough, they were in the beloved healer training guide. Step 1. Build a good relationship by participating in activities together. Jigia cracked a sinister smile and said, "I spent a whole day putting this perfect plan together, casting aside all next." Healthy Jar hesitantly spoke up. I have a question," Jijia asked in surprise. Huh? What is it? Go on. Healthy Jar asked in an awkward tone. Do you know how to play a priest? Jijia told the truth. Of course I do. It's not as strong as an alchemist, but I'm pretty good at playing one. Healthy Jar then made a request of Jijia. In that case, could you teach me? Jijia smiled brightly and asked the priest. Inwardly, though, he was thrilled. On the other hand, since Sun Chun was a longtime veteran player, he had played many different classes, but he usually avoided traditional support roles like the priest. And why is that? Because it's incredibly mind-numbingly boring. Since a priest's healing skills are so stable, you don't get to experience the thrill of managing your party's health like an alchemist does. With his god-tier mindset, Chahian always used a priest as a teammate to cover his own weaknesses, them during the healing process. Like that one guy, for instance, he was thinking of clueless healer who had gone off to do his military service. Even without playing the class in depth, the knowledge he'd gathered up from coordinating with them was more than a few moments later. Jijia had a thought. If the newbie wants to learn, then why shouldn't I teach him? Of course I can. Jijia promised him. Of course I can. I'll teach you. Healthy Jar was overjoyed and beamed. Jijia smiled back and instructed him. All right then, just wait for me to switch accounts, okay? Healthy Jar gently agreed. Okay. This left everyone else there confused and over-whispered to Dragonflame. I think Healthy Jar is actually into this. This isn't our fault, is it? Dragonflame just replied nonchalantly. I told you he was into it. I wasn't joking, but you just wouldn't believe me. Tank and Robot even posed a hypothetical. So, what if Healthy Jar wants to quit the game after spending an hour playing with him? Seeing Tangon Robot's message, Sunungjin sat in front of his monitor and began to wonder. When was the last time I played a priest? It's been so long. I can't even remember anymore. He decided to become a priest, and the system confirmed GGH as logged in. Now that he was a priest, another problem arose. Sun Chun couldn't remember the keyboard controls. He thought to himself, let's see what's the skill hotkey again. Just as I remember though, the equipment is a bit dated. In the game, Jiga let out a confused H when he saw Healthy Jar staring at him while the others surrounded the poor guy, saying things like, oh, our poor Healthy Jar. We're going to miss you. Jiga turned back and glared at them, thinking to himself, how dare you mess with my precious newbie? Meanwhile, they were screaming in mock terror. A few seconds later, they came over to tease him. Dragonflame said, oh my god, look at this. It's been ages. I just saw our guild master in his priest form. Ip disco kaimdin. I never thought I'd get to see that again. You'd really do anything for the newbie. Lada added, oh my, didn't someone say they delete their account if they logged in as a priest again? Gigi yelled a warning, stop spreading rumors. Seeing that he was angry, Lada simply replied, yes. Afterwards, Gigi looked at him, smiled brightly, and said, Healthizer, shall we get started? Healthizer obediently answered, okay, where are we going? Gigi took him to the training grounds and said, we have a practice arena inside the guild castle. We'll train there. Jiggy demonstrated slowly. This skill is a little tricky. Just one swipe and then another whoosh. After finishing, he turned and asked him, easy, right? Helisur replied with excitement. It does sound easy. Let me give it a try. After doing it, Helisur asked for Gigi's opinion. Did I do it right? This is really fun. He didn't answer, but looked at him with a satisfied expression which was beyond his own expectations. Sunung Cha Hun never thought he could teach someone else. However, after training Helisur, he started to feel strange, as if he could become one of the best instructors here. And it was no surprise. Even when Cha Han gave a vague explanation like, you just do a little swoosh here and there. Helisur, being a genius, could replicate it perfectly in the game. After seeing what Helisur could do, Gigi was so happy he could cry. He covered his mouth and thought to himself, good heavens, where did this precious gem come from? A second later, he said to him, now, let's do a practical test. It seems you can quickly apply what I've taught you. Helisur immediately followed his command. Yes, sir. Before he started, Gigi said to him, all right, wait for me to switch to my alchemist class. In the real world, Sunung Cha Hyun leaned back in his chair, wondering which dungeon is suitable for Helisur, the corrupted spirit of the Velvet Antler, or the Snow Forest Guardian raid. Now, those are too easy for him. Meanwhile, he became an alchemist, which was confirmed by the system. Gigi had logged in. As soon as he returned, Helisur quickly said, hey Gigi. Although he hesitated a bit, he gathered up all his courage to ask, by the way, can we raid the second legendary dungeon today? I practiced a lot yesterday. Instantly, Si Hyun crushed the can in his hand and screamed internally, this is insane. How is this possible? He looked at the computer screen and kept grumbling to himself. I try not to even think about doing a legendary raid since it's too hard for a newbie. My conscience is killing me. But look at him. He's asking me himself. But then he managed to calm himself down. He mumbled in his head, calm down. Calm down, Chahan. Just then, Dragon Flame approached. Heard a rumor that someone's about to raid Fendi. Hip Disco, smiling brightly, asked back. Who mentioned Fendi? Healthizer just smiled without answering. HX was so happy he stammered. Healthizer, are you Frail? Who suddenly burst into tears and said, I was just about to go take a shower. Hearing that, Lita covered his nose and said, You stink. Go shower quickly. Who angrily yelled in his face. Are you trying to piss me off on purpose? Finally, Gigi made a bold decision, recruiting 2 tanks and 5 DPS for the Fendi raid. Just like that, everyone formed a straight line. Gigi commanded loudly. Now line up straight, right here. He was irritable with the others, but his tone was gentle with him. Gigi then turned and said to HEALER, Hey, are you ready? But HEALER, as always, was very agreeable. Of course, at times like these, Sunchan was too lazy to talk, so he rarely led raids, let alone turn on his mic. But for his adorable partner, his perfectly suited Healther-chan was more than willing to talk to him. In the real world, Sunung Cha-hyun was also smiling with satisfaction, thinking to himself, my healer can definitely do anything he wants. Back in the game, Gigi said, All right, let's begin. Cha Butter excitedly said, Let's go forward. Dragon Flame loudly urged everyone, Let's go. Next, the system made an announcement. The Balanced Knight, Frederick Adrian, is entering the raid, Legendary Difficulty. The screen displayed the text, Entering Raid Legendary Difficulty. Si Hyun yelled, Binding Chains Blizzard Target Lock. He continuously unleashed his strongest skills. Gigi thought, this pattern is old, so it's not too difficult. You just have to try and memorize the attack patterns. Sun Chahan and LT, Unk and GT. As character, Gigi had a determined gaze, and his voice was firm and clear, just like a leader. Ooh said, You're right, but I suddenly forgot what the attack pattern is. Was an area of effect attack. She rubbed her eyes, her voice a bit embarrassed. Chibiter said, Of course, I don't remember either. Haha. He scratched his cheek. Bo said, I'm sure muscle memory will kick in soon enough. Let's move forward. His hand clenched into a fist and slammed down on the table. With a decisive shout, a beam of light in the shape of a balanced scale appeared. On the left plate was a sword, and on the right a shield. The system's voice rang out. Those with the shield icon moved to the left side. Everyone followed his command, gradually moving to their correct positions on the scale. The side of the scale with the sword icon is an area where even tanks can't survive, as they'll take double damage. A shield icon appeared above their heads. Some party members announced they had a defense buff. The system said, Everyone get ready. In 5 seconds, we're switching positions. Frederick, repent. Heidegger's side is the AoE attack, so everyone just needs to dodge it. My side is the all-out attack, so I'll be in charge of healing. Hearing the signal, Heidegger announced loud and clear. The area I'm responsible for is the all-out attack, so it only needs 1 heal, and it's done. But for healthy, it's different. Healing on the sword side is much more complicated. Of course, the enemy's attack range is limited, so you can dodge it from distance, but Hip Disco and Chai Powder specialize in close combat. Everyone charged forward, attacking the monster relentlessly and with great excitement. For melee fighters, giving up on dealing damage and retreating is a great dishonor. Hip Disco gently brushed back his hair, a triumphant smirk spreading across his face. A true warrior knows when to deal damage and when to dodge. That's what makes them truly strong. His long curled eyelashes highlighted his eyes, which curved up happily in victory. The DPS in the Haste Guild are all seasoned veterans, so they can execute their attacks and dodges with masterful skill. The robot boss launched an attack towards Hip Disco, startling him. In a split second, he failed to dodge the blow, sprawled on the ground, looking pained and a little pathetic. Hip Disco cursed. Damn it, how'd I still get hit when I did exactly what he said? Healthy was still in a panic. You're still just a rookie kid. Serves you right for being stupid. Iris Buller stood with her arms crossed, proud and fearless, while the red-haired guy laughed mockingly. The whole scene was a picture of hilarious chaos. It was a situation so painful yet funny that anyone watching would have to laugh along. Hip Disco, fuming with rage, yelled, You tricked me on purpose. You gave me the wrong instructions, didn't you? Who covered his mouth, snickering with an amused look in his eyes. Well, I succeeded on my very first try, so I had no idea you were that bad. My apologies. The more Hip Disco heard, the more furious he became. He grabbed OO by the collar and yelled, You're dead meat. Gigi, watching from a distance, thought to himself, all those guys know how to do is deal damage. So, of course, they're causing trouble again. A purple light flared up, seeming to signal that some kind of power had just been activated. Behind his glasses, Shi's sharp eyes glinted, showing his intense focus. He looked as if he'd just realized something, or was preparing to act. With a cool expression and a determined gaze, he looked up and thought. However, Angel's whisper. Healthy held his staff, causing a sparkling light to surround Hip Disco, apparently healing his that feels so good. This is so nice. Having a teammate heal you continuously before you even need to use a potion is awesome. Sunjun was laughing out loud. Sunjun, who both in the game and in real life prefer to be a passenger rather than the driver. Healthy was spreading his wings, flying gently, as if weightless. He held on tight to the man in black floating below him. Below, Sun Qian laughed, enjoying the ride. He felt this situation wasn't just strange, but also quite fun. But you know what, Who said? You've improved a lot since last time. Back when you first started as a swordsman, you couldn't even fight and chat with people at the same time. Hip Disco, his face weary and exhausted, grumbled. Just you wait until this battle is over. You're so dead. Gigi chuckled softly. I can't help but laugh hearing this ridiculous conversation. Is this some kind of rich people's hobby? Chowder looked at his thumb. Ouch, that hurts. Healthy was now healing him in the same way. His smile was gentle and warm. God's touch victory pose. A player said, we have a healer who can do everything. Aren't you jealous? Dragon Flame raised both hands and shouted, heal me too. Gigi, standing beside him, gave a friendly smile. Then, without a word, Gigi took several colorful potions and threw them one after another at him. Dragon Flame didn't even have time to react. He just screamed in terror. Gigi turned his head back to the giant boss, his expression stern, and said in a firm voice, this is the most annoying attack phase. Everyone except the marked person should run from left to right. Watch out for the boss's combo attacks. A continuous ringing sound was heard. HX had a weary look on his face. A desperate voice cried out, I'm marked. Ip disco saith. Damn it, what terrible luck. Dragon Flame cheered. I'm not marked this time. His mischievous laugh only made the other two more frustrated, one groaning in misery, the other gloating in triumph. The scene was like something out of the world's most chaotic raid party. A narrator's voice announced, the range of this next attack is extremely wide. Therefore, the best strategy is to let the marked members take the hit by themselves. The scene shifted to a tactical map with dots representing the party members. The other dots quickly spread out with arrows indicating their direction of movement, showing their synchronized coordination. The word dash appeared, emphasizing the team's retreat speed. The dash was both tense and a little comical, as if everyone was in a race to see who could outrun death. HX frowned. At least you guys have a dash skill. Hip Disco added, I wish battle mages had that skill too. Dragon Flame issued a challenge. If you can beat this boss with just that magic staff, I'll call you my master, Gigi commanded decisively. Everyone move in an orderly fashion to the right side of the arena. The boss suddenly leaped up, ready to attack anything in its path. The narrator's voice explained that an area of effect attack just went off, but I used a damage reduction skill, so we wouldn't take too much significant damage. Giga smiled slightly. Suddenly, a bright flash of light went off. Gigia froze and immediately turned around. Behind him was Pico sprawled out on the ground. Did he trip during our hasty retreat? Gigia saw the panic on Pico's face. Healthizer. The atmosphere froze just as the word post echoed in his mind. His entire body went rigid. HEALER could only stare at his fallen teammate, torn between running to save him and the fear that a rash move would get him killed too. His face twisted in panic as he screamed. I'm sorry, the narrator's voice continued. But unlike a DPS or a tank who can just focus on moving, a healer has to manage the party's health bars while on the move. It's incredibly difficult to balance healing and movement at the same time, which makes mistakes very common. Hearing this, Gia's expression grew tense and sweat beaded on his forehead. He thought to himself, that could happen. Doing both at once is really tough. A voice suddenly boomed like thunder. Call of the Wild. The whole arena fell silent for a moment. Then, a brilliant light suddenly flashed in midair, and Shabbat appeared, striking a heroic pose. Wind billowed and light swirled around him, making him look like a god. HEALER, still next to his fallen comrade, could only stare in astonishment at the scene. Gigia looked towards the flash of light, his hand holding a fuming sea blue glass bottle. A moment later, Pico shot up his face dirty and bruised. He sighed in relief. I'm still alive. Gigi just sat there scratching his head with a bewildered look. After that, a guilty-looking Healthizer bowed his head and said quietly, I'm truly sorry. Gigi quickly raised a hand to reassure him. It's all good. I already handled it. Don't even worry about it. Healthizer still looked tense and anxious. He hesitated, but then Gigia walked up to him, knelt on one knee, and put a hand on his shoulder. He gave him a gentle smile. This is your first time, right? His expression was bright, though tinged with fatigue from the long battle. His voice was deep and warm as he calmly tried to comfort his teammate. This was a difficult raid to begin with, and you didn't make a single mistake until that happened. Hellfire looked at him, his eyes welling up with tears of gratitude. Ziggy, seeing this dragon flame, started rubbing his arms and shivered. Man, I'm getting goosebumps. HX stared in disbelief. She stammered. Is that really our guild leader? The tension in the room suddenly broke. Just as the black-haired leader finished comforting him, the rest of the team couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into laughter. Ipdiscotist. Usually when HEALER messes up, Gigi would be like, what did your keyboard break or something, or did you accidentally unplug your mouse? The whole group erupted in laughter, the sound echoing through the hall and easing the awkwardness. The one being talked about ducked his head, while the other bowed repeatedly in apology. Everyone, I'm truly sorry, Hellheiser said. Chabat had a wistful expression as if lost in a memory, letting out a long, dramatic sigh. I miss my beloved old guild leader so much. The whole team got laughed at by the fans again. But after all, there's still a team getting through this hardship together. A ferocious tiger suddenly appeared, shattering the cheerful atmosphere. It roared like thunder. You bastards, stop giving Healthier a hard time. Now get your asses over there and do some damage to the boss. The whole group was startled. Exhausted, everyone dispersed. It seems like that's the boss of this game. Inside the castle, the lively chatter of people echoed outside. It was bustling. Gigi enthusiastically praised everyone. You guys were amazing. Dragon Flame added. Absolutely perfect. Who frantically ran off. I need to take a shower right now. Let's just close our eyes and see each other in the next life. Okay. Hip Disco angrily shouted after him. Should I report him? Let laughed loudly. Haha, I think you should. Healthier bowed his head slightly and said softly, thank you everyone for helping me today. GX Powder gave him a thumbs up to show encouragement and praise. You did great, Healthier. HX's applause from beside him also served as thanks and encouragement. You're definitely not a newbie anymore. God of War's voice rang out. Did you guys just finish a match? HX turned, saw him, and replied cheerfully, that's right. Healthier just defeated Frank today. When God of War heard what she said, his eyes filled with amazement and admiration. Wow, for real. At that moment, Healthier walked over to where Gigi was standing. Yee. Hearing someone call his name, he turned in surprise to look. Healthier bowed his head slightly, his voice trembling softly, almost lost in the wind. I'm truly sorry for what happened. Because of me, everyone. His gaze fell, not daring to look anyone in the eye. Gigi quickly waved his hand dismissively, stepped forward, and gave a reassuring smile. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I mean it. You did a great job. You know I can't lie, right? Healthier looked up momentarily, stunned. The gentle light in Gigi's eyes made his heart flutter. Healthier thought to himself, why would he need to lie when he's already said everything I wanted to hear? He hesitated, but Gigi thought to himself, I really don't mind at all, but what am I going to do if my partner, without getting my approval, decides not to join any more legendary gray dungeons just because of one small mistake? Healthier suddenly spoke up. Excuse me. Gigi, who was deep in thought, was startled by his voice. He asked awkwardly, what is it? Healthier's eyes were red and his voice trembled slightly. Could I have your personal message ID? Hearing this, Gigi was a little surprised. My message ID, Healthier explained. I plan to practice by myself, but I have a few questions I'd like to ask you. Gigi paused for a moment, then chuckled. Even though he appeared calm on the outside, but his eyes wavered slightly. The narrator's voice cut in. Sunshine Hun always hid his face during offline meetups. He had never given his personal information to anyone. As a rule, a clear line should be drawn between the game and real life. Seeing Gigi's slightly awkward reaction, Healthier said shyly, if you don't want to, it's okay. I'm sorry I've already bothered you so much today. Gigi suddenly thought, I can't just stand by and watch my future partner be sad like this. Sean Hun sat in front of his computer, typing rapidly. Gigi's message appeared. It's no problem. I'll send you my ID and a message later. On the other side of the screen to the user Healthier. The light from the monitor was just enough to reveal the corners of his mouth, lifting in an amused, calculating smile. He typed, well, for real. Hey, Gigi quickly replied, for real. The scene returned to the game. Thank you so much. Healthier was so happy he jumped for joy. Gigi patted his head, his gaze gentle and stirred. He thought to himself, wow, just look how happy he is. Of course, I could give him ID. A coffee shop bustling as usual. The sounds of laughter, conversation, scraping chairs, and the clinking of cups and glasses blended into a noisy but familiar symphony. Sunshine Hyun sat in a hidden corner, holding a cold drink, and quietly taking a sip through a black straw. His eyes, rimmed with dark circles, were glued to his computer screen. One hand held the drink, while the other tapped lightly on the keyboard. His messy hair and gloomy face radiated the exhaustion of working for hours on end.